Today on the Coach U Show, we have Alex Schlinsky. He's going to make you a better salesperson. Check it out now. Hey guys, today we've got a master of sales. I met Alex Schlinsky, was it a few weeks ago? And he gave a presentation on how to do a one-call close. And I first thought, this guy must be the ickiest and manipulative of salespeople ever. But he was so good that all the other digital marketers and pros in the room thought, this guy's so good, he should speak at Traffic and Conversion Summit. And Mark DeGrasse was there as well. And I wanted to introduce Alex to you because I learned so much from him. And I think even if you have a perspective on what you think sales is, you're going to learn a lot by following this man. Welcome, Alex.
Thank you so much for that amazing intro, Dennis. Now I got to live up to it, man. So hopefully everyone's going to love it.
It was like we were saying before we recorded, and also when we were hanging out in Austin, how people don't realize that there are these different techniques on how you frame. And I said, introducing Alex is like saying, hey, Alex is this amazing comedian. Now tell some jokes, right? That's such a hard thing to follow from. But why do you think most businesses, even though sales and leads is their biggest problem, have a problem with doing a one-call close, which is getting the money or getting the deposit in that first call instead of like some kind of 15-minute call, a discovery call, and then later they reveal their package?
Yeah, I think the reality of why this is so common in like pretty much all businesses, it's mostly because I think sales has become a bad word. It's like become a curse word somehow, as if it's some bad or negative thing. And I've tried to consider why this is the case. And I think there's something to do with like media and kind of how that has constructed the mindset, like how movies are portrayed, like as salespeople are portrayed consistently as like slime balls, selling by any means necessary, not really caring about the prospect. You'll have like a movie scene of some guy that's like, yeah, you really need this. And he's like, all ears, smiling, grin to grin. He gets the money paid. And like the next scene is like, oh, those stupid idiots like counting the money. And I think that's created this weird experience that people have taken, this like faux authentic experience. It's not authentic, but it's faux authentic. And like they think, Glenn Ross is real, or they think, Jordan Belfort and, Wolf on Wall Street, that's like the only way salespeople are. And then they maybe had one or bad experience with like a used car salesman or someone like that, or a solar person that was super aggressive, or someone that, is doing an HVAC deal at your home and they want to add on $10,000 to your products for no reason. And I think it's just become a bad word. So my kind of mission statement in coaching sales is trying to not make it a bad word, but making a recognition of what it truly is, which is a service. It's a service of helping someone overcome a problem that they have. And it's not a service of essentially having a prospect paying you, because no matter how good you are at sales, you're not going to close every deal. That's not how it works. But at the very least, if you can help someone create clarity on what their problem is and even point them in the right direction of their solution, even that if that's not working with you, that in and of itself is a service. And that's what I try to strive for in coaching, to remove that sleazeball, slimy, charlatan style that people think sales is, and move it into a position of abundance, gratitude, excitement, and ultimately a service of really the highest need. It's the most important thing in life, being able to sell and convince someone on your product or solution in order to help them with their problem. And that's really, really important.
The most powerful thing I thought I saw, which just blew my mind, which is why I reached out and said, I wanted you on my podcast, was the role playing. There's a lot of people that talk about how do you sell and talk about what do you say. But when I saw you role play with other people where you could play either side, I think me and everyone in the audience is like, wow, my just jaw dropped. So I thought for our audience, maybe we could do some role playing here so they could see, rather than like talk about, well, sales is important and whatever, maybe you could see how to deal with objections and what do you say, and have people thinking, I want to replicate the experience that we had in Austin together so other people can see there's, I should think about that. Oh, I need to write that down. That's a great phrase. I didn't realize I could approach it that way. Maybe we could do some of that.
Absolutely. Always. I'm always down for that.
So let's say that I'm a local service business and you are a digital agency and you're offering video marketing packages, right? You're making videos, you're editing videos, you're running ads against these things. Maybe it's Facebook or TikTok or whatever it is, which is what most digital agencies are doing. And I know a little bit about video marketing, but I'm a little skeptical because I'm not that good on video, but I know I need to do it. And I'm a little skeptical of agencies because I've been burned before.
Burn before is a really common objection. Before we dive into the burn before objection, I want to just touch on the offer you're talking about, because I think there's so much value in this important lesson. You mentioned that there's skepticism, right? Skepticism is a really important thing to bring up and overcome prior to them saying it. What you should have an inherent belief on is that any person that you speak to is likely highly skeptical of any offer you're going to make, mostly because of protecting themselves, not even because they've been burned before, but because of the faux authentic experience that others have been burned before. And thus they don't want to be that person that bought the lemon from the used car salesman, even though they've never bought a lemon before. That's something that's really important to utilize. And it's really easy to overcome skepticism through proof and transparency. Now, the and transparency line is not like a throwaway, it's required. If you showcase, I have a bold statement of, let's say, by utilizing our video marketing package, we're going to get you 10 new sales on average per month, guaranteed. Here's Tracy, who's gotten 15 jobs per month since working with us in January, every single month implementing this model. Mm-hmm. Now, inherently, there's skepticism on proof too. People think proof by itself is enough, that, oh, just showing the proof, now skepticism is gone. No, there's skepticism on the proof too. Well, that's cherry picked, Alex. Show me the other ones. Here's how you do it. That's really powerful and really easy. Any service that you provide, you always want to provide them with an offer that's going to be a very, very conservative estimate of what you provide. So based on what Dennis was just talking about of this video marketing service, I would never have someone in my community offer just, we do video marketing. There has to be a result for it, right? If there's no result for it, then you're never going to really be able to sell it because they don't understand what you're doing. It's like an HVAC contractor coming to your house and being like, we can lay limestone down. And you're like, for what? You're like, we just lay limestone. You're like, how? Where? We just lay limestone. Do you want limestone? And you're like, what are you talking about? Like, is this for a table? Is this for my island? Is this for an ottoman? Is this for a coffee table? Is this for my roof? What is this, my floor? What are we talking about? So in the same way with video marketing, it has to be some sort of tangible result that the video marketing provides. So for the sake of this, let's say the conservative estimate is that by providing video marketing with ads, you're going to help them get 15 more appointments per month than what they're currently getting. Now, this should be a conservative estimate based on you already doing these results and constantly getting 20, 25, or 30, mostly because what you want to have in your offer is the ability to explain to them that when we say 15, that's our minimum. We say 15 because we're being conservative so we can back up the claims we have. So when we get you 20 or 25, you're going to be over the moon about it.
Is that a promise or a guarantee?
Say again.
Is that a promise or a guarantee?
So it's a great question. What I do on guarantee coaching is just understanding risk mitigation. So I'll explain this really quick, and then I'll share how to do this burn before objection. If you look at it on kind of a continuum of risk mitigation, there's no risk mitigation, which is the prospect assumes all the risk. There's nothing wrong with having no guarantee. It's just harder in today's day and age, especially in the agency space, to have no guarantee unless you're already established for several years and several dozen clients with immense results that get to back you up as your guarantee. That's usually not commonplace. Most agencies are relatively newer within the last 5 years or so, and they already know, the other companies know that there's going to be guarantees elsewhere. So having no risk mitigation is kind of unlikely to sell. Doesn't mean you can't, but it's kind of unlikely. Then on the other end of the continuum is the money back guarantee. I'm a big staunch believer in not ever providing a money back guarantee. That doesn't mean there's not value to it or there's no reason not to do it. I think there is. But for me personally, the reason I don't do it is because if someone is paying you money to provide a solution for a problem that they have, they don't want their money back. They just want the solution, which is why they paid you in the first place. Right. So telling them that we'll give you your money back just says, hey, we'll put you back to exactly where you were. That's not really effective risk mitigation. The most effective risk mitigation, in my opinion, is the satisfaction guarantee, which in the continuum would be right in the middle, in my opinion. And the satisfaction guarantee looks something along the lines of, if we provide you with our video platform methodology on Instagram and YouTube for your HVAC business, what we do is guarantee 15 appointments per month with our process. Now, 15 is the bare minimum, but we expect that at least you will get 15 consistent appointments per month. And if we don't give you 15 appointments per month over 3 months, say for the sake of this 45 in 90 days, which your framed offer should always be 90 days in my opinion. So if we don't get you 45 in 90 days, we will work at no cost up to an additional quarter, an additional 3 months to provide you up to the number of missed appointments that we haven't provided. All you have to do is pay for the ad spend, not our management cost. Now, what you're doing is you're providing them a risk mitigation of, we're going to get you the result no matter what. So your satisfaction is there. But by clarifying why you're conservative on your estimate is how the guarantee works best, which is like this. But Dennis, you don't have to worry about the guarantee. We've never invoked the guarantee because our guarantee is at the lowest possible expectation. We never have just 15 appointments per month. We never just have 45 and 90 days. It's pretty consistently 50 to 80, even sometimes 100 appointments. But we don't want to come here and say we guarantee 100 because that's not something we can consistently do. We do it, but we can't consistently do it. So we provide you with a lower estimate to show you, hey, we can get this result, which is still a no-brainer for the investment price we're going to give you. And you're ultimately going to make way more money when you realize you're going to have way more than 45 appointments per month. That methodology is how the guarantee works. And now that we have this structure based off Dennis's baseline, I can properly share how to handle the burn before objection. Does that sound good?
I love it.
This is how you handle the burn before objection. There's multiple different like allegories or stories you can use, and you can either directly rip this from me or change it up however you like. You'll get the metaphor behind it in general. And the metaphor behind it, just to not bury the lead, is that they were priorly working with a general practitioner and you're the specialist. That's the idea of the product that you have. Now, when someone says, I've been burned before, you always want to commend them for still doing the call with you, because inherently being burned before means I've had this problem, right? But I still want it solved. So it looks something like this in 3, 2, 1. Hey, Dennis, I'm really grateful that you're transparent with me about being burned before. Obviously, you're not the only person that's ever said that. There's lots of companies out there that promise amazing results with video marketing and then unfortunately can't deliver, right? The reality is this though, okay? I commend you because you still got on this call anyways, because you want this result so bad, the additional appointments every single month to sell more jobs for your HVAC business, that you're still willing to get on here, even though you're saying I've been burned before. So what I'm going to do is just tell you a quick allegory and see if this lands with you, and we'll go from there. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Cool. Here's the allegory. You see this freckle on my hand? Let's say that I didn't know that this was a freckle, and I was potentially concerned that it could be something cancerous, and I wasn't aware. So I tell my wife, hey, babe, what do you think this is on my hand? And she says, I don't know. You got to go to the doctor. So I go to the doctor, I book my appointment, I go into the waiting room, I'm waiting in the waiting room. They're playing Aladdin for the 350th time. I finally go into the now smaller waiting room, which is a weird thing that doctors do. And then finally the doctor comes in. I say, hey, doc, what's this thing on my hand? And he says, you know, Alex, I honestly don't know. You got to go see a specialist. You have to go to the dermatologist. Is there anything else I can help you with? And I say, no, thanks for nothing, essentially. I walk out. As I'm walking out, they're like, hey, sir, you got to pay your copay, right? And if you're not in Canada, you got to pay a copay in the United States. Okay, so I pay my $80 copay. I go home. I'm frustrated. I'm sitting down on my couch. My wife comes home from work. She says, babe, what did the doctor say about that thing on your hand? He said, I don't know. You got to go see a specialist. What do you think my wife says? Does she say, don't worry about it, or go see the specialist?
Well, everyone knows that you're going to see a general person before you see the specialist.
Exactly. So now what I have to do is I have to go see the specialist. Even though I've been burned before by going to the general practitioner, wasting my time, wasting my money, and still not having the solution I was looking for, which is this cancerous or not? I have to go to the specialist, because if I don't go to the specialist, obviously the worst case scenario could be that this problem you have in your business, which inherently is not booking enough appointments, could kill your business, either because the competition supersedes you to the point that they're doing marketing effective enough that will run you out of business, or your business just inherently will decay and die over time due to simply not having enough opportunities. Mm-hmm. So here's the reality. I'm the specialist. This is the only thing that we do in our company. We work with HVAC companies, providing them with video marketing services to get them 15 minimum appointments per month, 45 and 90 days guaranteed. There is no risk, because ultimately you will get the result, period. Mm-hmm. And now you have two choices. Option one is to keep saying that you've been burned before and do 5 more calls with people like me who are probably not as handsome as me, but whatever, no big deal. And they will end up saying, right, the probably same thing that I did or not as good. And then you'll just keep saying the same thing over and over until the problem gets worse and worse. Yeah. Or you can say, I've been burned before. You're the specialist. I'm going to work with you. And the guarantee is there to avoid any risk, so you can't possibly be burned again. We provided you with a fire retardant jacket for this service. This is a must-have. This is what you need to do. And that's the frame of how I'd handle it.
Okay. But Alex, there's so many people that are cheaper.
Great question. So the idea of saying cheaper, I just want to touch on this for a second. You used a very important term there. My dad, when I was younger, Dennis, would say all the time, hey, make sure you don't say cheap versus inexpensive. He'd get really irritated if I would use the word cheap. There's a difference in those two words, and a very stark difference, particularly in marketing and service-based businesses, which is cheap is lower quality. Inexpensive is less expensive. So let me share this with you, Dennis.
Right.
If you can provide and find the service that we provide, which is 45 guaranteed booked appointments through our video marketing service at a lower cost, but the same quality that we provide, then we need to go back. We need to go back to the lab and change our offer and switch things up. And you need to take them up on that offer, period. I don't want you paying me if you can find someone that does this better than us at a lower cost. But you've obviously heard, of course, the classic line that you get what you pay for. You specifically use the word cheap. If you are working and looking for cheaper, that means cheaper quality leads, cheaper quality labor, cheaper quality results. If you want quality results, you pay for quality results. No one can match the quality we have at the investment price we have, and you still get a significant return from this investment. Otherwise, I wouldn't offer it to you in the first place.
But Alex, I thought maybe you could give me a good friend discount because we know each other.
Such a great question, and I love that. Here's what I've learned before. I was at a mastermind once in San Diego with a group of about 15 people. And someone asked, what do you guys think about friends and family discount? And everyone was kind of like, oh, no. Like you could kind of tell there was some unease in the room because there's always this underhanded, kind of backhanded, like dark room, like, oh, well, I'll give you the special deal. Just don't tell someone kind of thing when you know someone. But what we ended up finding out was there was one person that spoke up and said, I charge them double. And everyone immediately got quiet. We're like, you charge them double? Can you explain what you mean? He said, if you have a friend or family that's asking you for a friend or family discount, they're inherently believing that you're automatically price gouging them, right? So inherently you should have less profit for some reason, which is totally unreasonable. If they were your real friend or family, they want you to make as much money as possible, just like they want to make as much money as possible. And then number two, and most importantly, since they're friends and family, and they have more basic blackmail to use against you because they know you personally, not just professionally, what ends up happening is their expectation level is 5 times greater than anyone else. So either they pay double or they don't pay at all. So you're welcome for not charging you double, but there is no friends and family discount. The price that we have is more than fair, and full price is fair price.
Yeah. Well, how do I know you're going to take good care of me because you have so many other clients?
It's a great question. It's not your burden. I appreciate that concern. I think ultimately there's trust involved in this business, right? At the end of the day, we have a lot of clients. That's true. We work with about 50 people, but we only bring on clients that we believe we can deliver for. The reality is we are human beings. I'm not some sort of robot. I don't have robots on my team, but we provide an exceptional service. If someone came to you as an HVAC client potentially and said, well, how many jobs do you have right now? Can you handle it? Are you available? I think your probable response would be, I wouldn't be at your home right now if I couldn't do this. And frankly, Dennis, I wouldn't be on this call if I didn't believe we could service you. The reality is we have the capacity. Otherwise, I wouldn't do this. Is it possible that one day I'm not at capacity, or I am at capacity rather, and I can't potentially provide for you? It's possible, but I think we're pretty far away from that. I think we are more than capable of managing this and handling this. It's going to come down to the trust factor of knowing that we're going to do right by you.
Well, Alex, I know you're a young growing agency and you guys have huge plans to grow. And what if in exchange for you doing the services at a discount, I'm willing to be a testimonial for you?
I have plenty of testimonials already. I do appreciate the offer. I think at this point, there has to be some sort of commitment to you understanding that our investment price is locked in. There is no gouging of our price because what we do is at the highest quality service to ensure that we have consistency on our numbers. And that's in no disrespect to you. It's strictly based on what our business is built off of. Imagine if we had the roles reversed for a second and you came to my house to fix my AC. And I said, well, I noticed you only have 15 Google reviews. What if I gave you a 5-star review if you charge me $200 less? Now, if you said yes, I think really what that would end up realizing is you're ending up not being in integrity for the other people that are reviewing you without any financial recourse. So to be within integrity, I'm not going to take a discounted rate just so you provide a testimonial. Because in fact, when you do pay the full rate and get the exceptional results, I guarantee you that you're going to want to give us a testimonial. You're going to be banging down my door to give me a testimonial because you're going to get the best results you've ever had for your business. That's the truth.
You know, the $3,000 a month, that seems like a good thing, but I only have $2,000 in my budget right now. So I was kind of hoping, can you give it to me for $2,000?
I can't, but if you only have a $2,000 budget and we have a $3,000 offer, you ultimately have two choices, right? One, have you had any other conversations with companies like mine before?
I have.
Has any of them been at $2,000?
Well, there have been ones at $1,000 and other ones that are different levels of qualities, but you know, I would like to work with you if I can.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, if you want to work with us, it's a $3,000 a month investment. So your other option is either one, getting creative with financing options, which we have, by the way, which are really reasonable rates. You're looking at term rates of 72 months to pay it back on an average of 5 to 10%. Some of them could be a little bit higher depending on where you're at currently with your credit score. Or of course, the reality is this, right? When money is needed for something that's really important to you, it's creative. So whether that's I need to go close a deal or two and come back, or I need to get, money from my grandmother, or I need to take money out of my own pockets to pay for it, that's fine. But if you strictly, sincerely have only a $2,000 budget, I don't think there's anything wrong inherently of potentially considering another service, unless you realize that that other service is just going to be a sunk cost and you'll end up losing $2,000. And then my service is really $5,000 because you already lost two. So that's really what it comes down to at this point.
Well, I'd love to work with you, Alex. Can you send me a proposal so then I can review it with my co-founder?
It's a great question. Can I ask you exactly what you're hoping to see in the proposal, Dennis, so that I can deliver for you appropriately?
Well, I'd like to see some of the techniques that you're using, and also like, what do you need from me to be successful? Because, video marketing, I have to produce some videos. I need to make sure that whatever you need from our team, that they're able to deliver those pieces because it's a two-way street. And then I just want my co-founder to be able to see this because I always make decisions, we make decisions together. Great
information there. There's two different things that you're asking me of there. If it's okay if I can just touch on each of them, do you mind? Okay, so one, we're talking about a proposal with just a breakdown of what we discussed today. Always happy to do that. I'll explain more about that in just 1 second. And then the second thing is the partner. I just want to touch on that first because I think the partner actually is the first stopgap to potentially working together. Obviously, your partner is not in this meeting currently. So there's two options briefly here. One, would you be open to having your partner jump on a meeting with me so I can do the service that I did to you and provide him with the insight of what we're providing today? Or would you prefer only to speak to him yourself?
I mean, it'd be a lot easier, I think, because I already want to do it. And I think he mostly trusts me, but I want him to look at it just Perfect. So it's not like, he's
okay. Totally fair. So you're saying you want to do it. You just want to have him have the ability to look through a proposal briefly to make sure he's comfortable.
Yeah, he might have some other thoughts. I mean, if he has other questions, maybe we could set up another call. But
yeah, absolutely. I'm totally fine with that. Okay, cool. That makes a lot of sense to me. So then this would be my next question. Just for the sake of it, what happens if your partner says no? Like, what happens if he goes through the proposal, you want to do it, but he's like, I don't want to do this. What would you do?
Well, I guess we'd have a discussion.
Okay. So you're not sure exactly what would happen at that point. You'd either decide, figure it out, but you're not 100% sure what you would do next.
Yeah. And I figured there's, 70, 80% chance he'll say yes, but just in case he might have a suggestion or he might have a point that I didn't think
Gotcha. Okay. Well, regarding the proposal, before we finish out on this, the idea of what to do with your partner, which is totally fair. Yeah. I'm not going to send you any sort of like very sexy proposal, like aesthetic. I know some people expect that, especially from a video marketing company where like, that's our job to make these really nice, amazing things. We say that for our clients, right? This is going to literally be a text-based email that's going to say, these are the deliverables. This is what you're required to do. This is the investment price. Are you okay with that? Is that okay? Perfect. I have no problem to do that. The only request I'd have is this. You want to work with us, right? Obviously, it's a $3,000 a month service that you're open to doing. You just need to get confirmation from your partner who you think is probably 70, 80% of the way there. Totally
Right.
fine. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Okay. Put down a $500 refundable deposit. Now, here's why. Okay. I'm going to first of all hold your spot in line. You're going to be the exclusive HVAC partner we work with in Las Vegas. We will not work with anyone else, and we'll hold your spot. It's not like, by the way, that I have someone I'm ready to speak to tomorrow. For transparency, I don't want to make it sound like that. I'm speaking to your competitor tomorrow. That's not what I'm saying. You put a $500 refundable deposit down so that I can get everything set up, send you this proposal. We'll have everything prepared for a kickoff call. We'll schedule our kickoff call, you and the partner. On that call, you'll say, hey, we're good to go. You'll pay the rest of the $2,500. Or you'll say, hey, this isn't right for us because of this, that, and the other. We'll break glass in case of emergency, and I'll send you the $500 back. The idea behind this deposit then allows you to go to your partner and say, I've already put a deposit down because I believe this is a great fit. And now it's not just your word. There's a financial component, which usually is the biggest psychological element to this. And I think this is a great fit for you. This is what we should do now. Let's do a $500 refundable deposit.
Well, it just seems kind of weird asking for money. I mean, shouldn't it be the kind of thing where you decide that you're going to do the deal and then we just go ahead and do it? The deposit, it feels like some weird lock-in.
Interesting. Why does that feel weird to you?
It feels like a sales tactic. It's like normally when you're doing professional services, there's not maybe there's a deposit.
Okay. Is there something wrong with a sales tactic? What is my mission on this call for clarity? Like, what do you think my mission is?
Well, you want to get more sales.
Right. But ultimately,
and see who's serious. And
then what does that do for you, right? When we get a sale, then we're going to provide you with 45 more appointments per month, right? So of course, my job is to implement sales tactics. For transparency, I'll pull back the curtain for you because I don't want you to think it's any sort of slimy or sleazy way. And at the end of the day, you have full right to say, no, send me a proposal and we'll go from there. And that's totally okay. But if you're willing to hear me out, I can share with you kind of the logic behind it. Okay. Are you open to that?
Okay.
Cool. Thank you for that, by the way. And I appreciate your transparency. The reality is of why we ask for the deposit is really twofold. One, most of the time when someone asks for a proposal or wanting to speak to their partner, they want to do it, but they need a little bit more time to consider it. Because at the end of the day, thinking things through is a really normal human condition. Making decisions on the fly is very rare. It's why most people resonate very strongly with, hey, babe, what do you want to do for dinner tonight? I don't know. What do you want to do? It's not because restaurants open up every day or because you move every single week. It's just because it's easier for someone else to make the decision for you. So when we tell you that we want you to ask to put down a $500 deposit, besides for the fact that we'll hold your spot in line and we're not going to work with anyone else in your area and we'll get ready for the kickoff call, the biggest thing is it takes the difference from your mind saying yes to your credit card saying yes. There's a huge fear related to how much money things are. It's what we just spoke about for the last 10 minutes about, can I get a friends and family discount? I've been burned before. Can I do it at $2,000 instead of $3,000? All these are totally fair. No problem at all, right? And I didn't say at any point, oh, these are just sales tactics to get me to get to pay you less, right? At the end of the day, the reason we do this is I don't want you leaving this call and hammering yourself on all the reasons that you shouldn't do this, which is a very normal thing to do. The crazy thing is, as soon as a $500 deposit is made, that changes your mind to all the reasons you should move forward. That's the sales tactic in reality. And here's the crazy thing, Dennis. I can tell you this for transparency. You asked about how much available clients we have in our capacity. We work with 50. And so far since July of this year, we've worked with about 30 new clients. Of the 30 clients, half of them paid a deposit. I've taken 17 deposits this year. 17. I've refunded 2. 15 have moved forward. It's just proof that this product psychologically works. So you can end this call feeling confident that you made a financial decision, but you have the break glass in case of emergency. So that's why we do it. I think it will be really beneficial for you. Plus, all you can think of is, that's a pretty interesting sales tactic. Perhaps I should listen to this guy and trust him. Let me put my $500 down and see how my brain consciously and subconsciously reacts to that of, I really want to do this versus I don't want to spend $3,000 a month. That's the truth.
What percent of the time do people say yes when you offer the deposit?
So I do 2 businesses. I work with personal injury attorneys and we do Google advertising for them at $5K. And the large majority of them, it's really interesting. There's a really strong discrepancy of a 50-50 split of ones that are very constantly they don't need a deposit. They're just going to pay it up front because a lot of attorneys move fast. And then there's this other weird half. There's 0% chance they'll buy on the first call. And they'll always tell you that too. They'll be like, just want you to know, I don't buy on the first call. I have a bunch of calls, blah, blah. They're always transparent about that. So the ones that buy up front, obviously no deposits. The other 50% on the attorney side, I would say on average, 30% say yes. a large majority of them, when they don't want to buy already on the first call and they've transparently framed that up front, and then you tell them the deposit frame, they have a similar reaction to what yours is, which is like, I don't get that. Like, why would I do that? Blah, blah. Even when you transparently express why, which is key, like transparently expressing it, plus the benefit, which is kickoff call and exclusivity. But like, that's not really that big of a deal, but it's still something at least. They'll either be like, yeah, no, I don't want it, or I do. What really ends up happening though is the crazier number than whether or not they say yes to the deposit is how few people refund the deposits. And then also the ones that don't do the deposits end up not working together majority of the time. So if you have 10 people that reject the deposit, there's a likelihood that like one of them might end up working together. Whereas if you have 10 people that accept the deposit, the likelihood is 9 of them will continue working together. It's pretty crazy. In the mentorship side of things, because I run a mentorship community for agency owners, it's completely different. Pretty much 99% of the people I speak to are not willing or able to pay $15,000 upfront for our mentorship program, like 99%. So the idea of a deposit is very interesting to a large percentage. So I would say of qualified people that I speak to, about 70% of the time, I'm offering a deposit frame because they can't pay for the upfront amount, usually due to I need to move money around, or I need to think about it, or I need to have another call with a different company, or probably the biggest one, partner/spouse objection. Like, let me talk to them. The partner/spouse objection is the most beneficial for the deposit frame, because what ends up happening is they get to use that as leverage for their partner and spouse. Be like, I didn't fully decide on this, but I did put down a deposit because I really believe in this. Now that frame is infinitely stronger when they talk to their wife versus if they didn't and they go talk to their wife and they're like, so there's this $15,000 program. What? No, it's just different versus, hey, I just want you to know, I put down a $500 deposit for this program that I think will really help me. He didn't force me to pay for everything because he would allow me to chat with you. And he said he's happy to chat with you if you need, but I really think this is great for me because of this. It just changes the entire framework of how it works. I've taken lots and lots of deposits and very, very, very few of them have been refunded. A total this year in POD, my mentorship program, has been 2 total the whole year that I refunded. And I was shocked on both of them, frankly, but it happens. And this is key for anyone listening. You have to back up what you say. The first time I got a deposit and then they asked for a refund was like super shocking to me. I think I had probably already successfully had, I'll estimate for the sake of this, like 20 deposits successfully. And then this guy, first person, was like, I want it back. And so I was like, why? And I wanted to ask questions. I want to get clarity. And he was amicable up to probably 5 minutes of me asking questions, to the point of like, Alex, you said you would give it to me. No questions asked. You're only making this worse now. Now I really don't want to work with you. Can you please give it back to me? Yeah. And I was like, my bad. You're totally right. This is just something I'm not used to. I'm refunding you now. Appreciate you. That was not, that was not something like a trick to you. It just was an emotional reaction. So I apologize. But you're human, like people are human beings. I'm a human being. I'm not perfect. So you just got to back up your word on the actual deposit. Otherwise, it's really bad. So those are the insights.
That's crazy. Guys, you guys need to listen to Alex. In the role plays, you learn so much on the things that you can say. Like, I've seen him with Digital Marketer. Go check him out. Google his name, Alex Schlinsky, and Digital Marketer. High level with all the other agencies. You guys might be really good at doing the digital marketing, but skills like this, these soft skills, I don't think you're really going to see anywhere else. Alex, what else do you think is missed, especially for agencies that are selling services, where they think they're in a commodity kind of place and they have to make these crazy promises?
Yeah. So the 80-20, right? What 20% of things can you implement to get 80% of results? There's 2 specific things that you can do in sales. They'll make a massive, massive difference moving forward. And if you just do these 2 things from anything else I coach, teach, or do, you'll become extremely successful moving forward. And the 2 things are as follows. Number 1 is the second frame of the call is the why you're on this call frame. The first frame is the time result frame, which is just how long the call is going to be and the result of the call. So you avoid stupid objections like, how much time do we have left? I got to run. And that's really annoying because you didn't frame how long the call is going to be, which I've done that many times because I'm a talker. So it ends up happening. And that sucks, especially with attorneys, because they're really hard to get on the phone. So they're like, I've got 5 minutes and you're like 25 minutes left. You're like, oh my God. And then the result frame is just letting them know, like, if I feel confident, I'll happily make you an offer, which is important because some people are kind of stupid and they're like, there's an offer on this call. Like, it's stupid. The second frame, though, is the why you're on this call frame, which looks something like this. Hey, Dennis, really appreciate your time. Like I mentioned, I want to make sure I deliver for you on this call. Obviously, the time you're giving me is the most valuable asset you have. It's time that you can't get back. It's time you're not spending with your friends, your family, your wife, your husband, your partner, your daughter, your dog, yourself, catching up on Game of Thrones. You're here with me. I want to make sure it's worthwhile. Why are you on this call? Why did you give me your time? That question is so important because the reality and unfortunate reality, I guess, of human beings is we all know, frankly, and I'm not trying to get too morbid, but the reality is we have a metaphorical hourglass in our life. We don't know how much time we have left. We don't know how much time we're gifted, and God willing, all of us have long lives ahead, but we never know, right? And unfortunately, every single day you hear of accidents, whether it's online from celebrities or people you know. Literally, it's every day. It's not like once in a while, it's every single day. And what ends up happening is people see that, but then they just move on with life, right? You just move on. You just move on and you forget how important and valuable time is. One of the side notes, if Dennis hasn't shared this or you don't know this about me, but I had open heart surgery when I was 29 years old, just about 2 years ago. And, I wouldn't recommend it to anyone, but it does create a more clear sense of how valuable our time is. So even before I had my surgery, when I was coaching this, it's more impactful now, which is just making sure that on the call, they can come in thinking, wow, my credit card is not the most valuable thing. It's the thing I'm already providing at no cost, which is my time. And that changes the trajectory of how the call is going to go because you end up getting like one of three responses, which is someone that's really clear and knows exactly why they got on, which are the highest quality prospects. Dennis, I'm here because I know that you run the most effective video marketing strategy. I've seen you online for years. This is something I absolutely need. And I'm hoping that there's an appropriate investment that I can make to do this. That's not exactly how it looks every single time, but it's something of that nature. Like they're really clear why they're on this call. Then you have the ones that realize the OS, like I'm not going to poop, right? Like, oh my God, I have no idea why I'm on this call. They wouldn't say it like that, but you can see it in their face and they'll be like, well, you like reached out to me on LinkedIn and I don't know, I just thought it would be good to get on. Or, oh, I saw your ad and I just thought it would be interesting. Like they don't actually have purpose behind why they got on the call. And for those people, you have to dig on that purpose immediately. Otherwise, you should get off the call because the chances of closing that person is essentially zero because they have no urgency or purpose of why they got on the call. Okay. And then the last type of person is probably the most challenging type of person. And unfortunately, the most common, which is it all started back in 1985. My dad and I were selling lemonade on the side of the street on Carter Avenue in Brooklyn. And then they just do on a 10-minute diatribe about their whole life story. And there's so much stuff involved in that. And you just have to restate what they had said as best you can to simplify it. Hey, I appreciate all that insight, Dennis. What I got from that is you've been in this game for a long time and you're looking for a better marketing strategy to get more clients for your HVAC business so you can make your dad proud and ultimately hire some more talent to grow. And you're hoping that I can be the one to do that. Is that correct? That's why you're here? Yeah. Perfect. I can deliver for you on that. I can make sure your time is worth it. Let's dive in. That is definitely the 80-20 of your business, for sure, of sales. And then the most important thing in sales, 100%. The single most important thing is telling, not asking. And this is the most uncomfortable thing for 99% of salespeople and what most people won't listen to me on, which is pretty crazy. Someone will listen to me for an hour or an hour and a half, recorded presentation of me doing the one call close training, and they'll implement a bunch of other stuff, but they won't implement this thing, even though every time I coach it, I say, this is the most important thing. You could screw up all the other stuff, and this is the most important thing. There's no magic abracadabra, Harry Potter wizard spell that gets someone to pay you money. Nothing. The closest thing to that, though, is telling someone to invest with you, not asking. At the end of the call, when you say, look, Dennis, this is a no-brainer for you. It's exactly why you got on this call. This is exactly what you need. You should do this. Versus the classic close of, well, Dennis, what do you think? Do you want this implemented? Pardon my French, but who gives it about what the prospect thinks? You're not on the call for them to get their thoughts. They're on the call because you're positioned as an expert that can potentially provide for them. And at the end of the call, you're going to ask them what they think instead of selling them. Do the job. This is the part that people have a hard time with because they think it's sleazy or aggressive or a sales tactic, especially if they ever get that response that you said, Dennis, of that seems like a sales tactic. Then they'll never do it again. It's when you're worried about coming off aggressive versus confident, which is the whole key, being confident is the number one thing, not fake confidence, authentic, real conviction. Like that's what we need, like real conviction. Okay. And it's impossible to role play that because I don't run a marketing agency for video marketing that promises you 45. So I can't really showcase confidence. I can in some way because I'm very skilled at role playing, but in general, like if I have real confidence on a real offer I make when I talk to an attorney or an agency owner about helping them run their businesses more effectively, I can say with real fire, brimstone confidence, like, you got to do this. This is a no-brainer for you. You have to. It's crazy because people think about, am I being too aggressive or am I coming off confident? And the end result is realizing you have no control of how perception works. You don't control how someone perceives something you said. It's why politics are so crazy, right? It's because someone can watch one speech, okay, from one person, and they're like, that was the most incredible thing I've ever seen. And then another person watches the exact same speech, unedited, exactly the same, and they're like, that is the worst person in the world. How does that happen? It's because we don't control the perception of people. That's not how life works. Yeah. So if you're worried about coming off aggressive or confident, what ends up happening is just you're seeding doubt. And seeding doubt, especially to a seasoned buyer, it's like blood in the water for a shark. Like you can smell it, you can hear it, you can see it, you can see it in their face, you can hear it in their tone. They're not confident. And if they're not confident, you can't buy. So I'll finish with this in terms of the sales aspect. Before my surgery, I went to see two different surgeons actually three. I went to three different surgeons to talk about my options and like which surgery, which surgeon and surgery I should do. And the first surgeon that I went to was very a lackadaisical approach. And he was just like, yeah, this and that. And like, it was just very, like might as well have been like a Subway bread maker, like it was just, this is what it is. Like, but to me, this is the biggest deal of my whole life. Like I'm gonna have to do heart surgery. And he didn't sell me at the end. So I went in the car and I told my wife, babe, there's no way that I can have this guy do my surgery. It's impossible. So the next doctor we go to, I tell him at the front end, I'm like, I know this sounds really weird, but I need you to sell me on this. Like, I'm a salesperson. I really need you to confidently sell me. And he goes, Alex, it's not my job to sell you, but I can tell you that this is a good fit for you. You need to do it. And I went back in the car and I was like, no. Third person, I tell him again, same thing. And he goes this, he says, Alex, your wife is 5 months pregnant. You have a problem with your heart that needs to be fixed now. If you don't fix it now, ultimately, you could potentially die before your son is 18 years old. And you don't want that. I have a son that's 30 years old, same age as you, essentially. If you were my own son, I would tell you need to do this. And I would tell you to let me do this because I know that you will meet your son. You will be healthy and you will live a long life if we do this correctly, appropriately, and immediately. Well, obviously, I'm going to work with that guy. It was a no duh. It was an obvious thing.
But the first guy could have been a better surgeon.
It could have been. Never know. Right. And I'm happy with my surgeon. I have some things that I'm not super satisfied about 2 years later. But in general, it's like, how am I supposed to know? Right. At the end of the day, I'm sure all of those surgeons would have been fine and I would have been fine either way. But when you're making these types of decisions, which my stakes were a little bit higher than a $4,500 a month service, in my opinion, at least, like you really want someone convicted, like with conviction, telling you should do this. The last thing the doctor said to me, wheeling me into the OR, was, I promise you're going to meet your son. What a impactful thing that is to say, like reselling me on how scared I was being wheeled in, like holding my wife's, belly as she's 5 months pregnant. And he goes, you ready to go? And I'm like, no, I'm not ready. He said, don't worry. You're going to be taken care of. I promise you will meet your son. Let's go get this done.
And he remembered it. He didn't just treat you like a number.
Oh, yeah. He remembers. He's a great guy. Very good person. And I'm grateful for him. Dr. Boyer, thank you so much. Appreciate you. But yeah, like I just think, that's the number one most important thing in sales, telling someone to buy, not asking. But I know that a lot of people get really uncomfortable with it. Just try, and be with conviction. Don't think about it as a sleazy sales tactic. Just think of it as an opportunity to really pitch someone on how confident you are that your product is awesome. And this is where most salespeople fail because they don't feel confident enough to say, you should do this. So instead, they'll go the gimmicky route of, what do you think, Dennis? Do you want this? I hate that model. It's crazy. So
then you're not sure my thoughts yourself. Yeah. Incredible. Well, that's Alex Schlinsky. He's the founder of Prospecting on Demand. This guy knows better than anyone on the planet on how to do a one-call close. And if you don't believe me, Google him, look at Digital Marketer, look at High Level, look at all the other podcasts, look at the role playing. I very rarely ask people to be on the podcast because it takes us time and effort and money to chop it up and distribute that. But Alex met that bar, and I'm hoping he's going to speak at TNC and some of these other conferences. If you have salespeople on your team, if you're an entrepreneur and you're a little uncomfortable with selling, I'd invite you to check out Alex's coaching program. It's part of Prospecting on Demand. This guy knows what he's talking about. A lot of salespeople out there, but not very many good salespeople. Thank you so much, Alex.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much, Dennis.